Welcome to the Unlock 360 podcast, where education leaders share how they're turning vision into action, one system, one school, and one student at a time, because strong systems give every learner a better shot at success. Welcome back to Unlock 360, everyone. I'm your host, Wendy York Davoud, and we are in season 4 of our show. Joining us today, we have Guadalupe Montañez, the principal of Deanna Davenport Elementary. Welcome, Lupe.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much.
Yes, and before the show, I was given permission to call her Lupe. So
Yes.
continue to refer to her as Lupe in our episode today. So, in her role as the principal and assistant principal of Deanna Davenport Elementary in Canutillo ISD, a school district in El Paso County, Texas, she serves approximately 300 students.
Correct. That is correct.
Lupe, will you please share with our audience a bit about your journey that led you to becoming the principal of Deanna Davenport?
Absolutely. I have been in education since 2000. I started off as a campus office manager in a
Okay.
very small district in outside of Canutillo, outside of El Paso, which is Anthony ISD. So I worked there for approximately 3 years while I went to college. I got my bachelor's at the University of Texas at El Paso and began teaching absolutely immediately, even before I walked. So I taught fifth grade, fourth grade, third grade, second grade. I coached volleyball at the high school level. I was a freshman volleyball coach. And then I was middle school volleyball and basketball coach, which I was not very good at. Basketball coaching is not for me. Volleyball definitely is, but basketball is not. From that, I went on to being an instructional coordinator at a middle school. And that helped me get my foot into the door, becoming a campus administrator. I was given the opportunity to become an interim assistant principal at the middle school. So I served in that role for approximately 4 years, then moved on to moved back to an elementary school and became the assistant principal at Jose Damian Elementary, and then moved to Deanna Davenport Elementary as an assistant principal for 4 years, and then got the job of principal slash assistant principal slash campus testing coordinator here at Deanna Davenport. So it's been a long journey to get where I'm at, but I've loved every minute of it, and I've learned so much from so many people that it's been an amazing ride to get here.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And you mentioned, wearing also the hat of the testing coordinator. So quite a few hats that you wear there. I am just curious how long you've been at Deanna Davenport.
So this is my 8th year. I served 4 years as the assistant principal, and then this is my 4th year as the principal.
Okay. So here we go, everyone. One of the pieces that I couldn't wait to share with all of you and learn more about is that under Lupe's leadership, Deanna Davenport Elementary has seen dramatic improvement, going from a D rating, and according to the state of Texas accountability system, to an A rating in just 1 year. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
We have to know how this happened. So, will you share, like, how did you identify what the root causes were of underperformance?
First of all, I think that the reason we got to the A was the teacher buy-in to the curriculum. I think being data centered, reflective in our practice made a world of difference. I do have an instructional coordinator, and so that person is vital to moving the needle. That person is my, I want to say my counselor is my right hand. She's my left hand because we have to work collaboratively with one another to make sure that our teachers are on track, that our students are on track, and that our community is involved within the education of everyone here within the building. Um, I know everybody gets tired of hearing that saying that says it takes a village, but it literally does take a village. It's not just me. I don't like to take credit for the A because it's everything that happens inside the classroom. Um, my teachers are amazing. And so when we first got the D rating, it was kind of like a slap in the face. Um, but at the same time, during our transition from going from a B to a C to eventually the D, um, our campus was in jeopardy of being closed. So the year that we got the D was the year that we had central office come to our campus, and they had a meeting with everyone at the beginning of the school year to let us know that we would be closing if the bond did not pass. It was a horrible way
Yeah.
to start the year.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, and so the teachers were crying the end of the meeting. They would come up to me. They were hugging me. Um, I was very humbled because they weren't thinking about themselves. They were thinking, what's going to happen to our principal? They asked over and over, like, what's going to happen to Miss Montañez? Where is she going to go? And so that really touched me because it wasn't more like, am I going to have a job? It was like, is she going to be okay? So that's the year that we got the D. So when we came back and we stayed open, the bond passed. Fast forward the beginning of the school year, it was a challenge, and we're like, okay, our curriculum is changing. We're going to go at this 100%. And that's what my teachers did.
What specifically were the changes in terms of curriculum?
It was fidelity. It was fidelity to the program. There's so many resources that our teachers have out there with AI, with and I don't want to mention them specifically because of the fact that there's a lot of great tools out there for teachers. But with great tools, there's also a lot of steps that we tend to miss.
Uh-huh.
And so we want the easy stuff that's going to give us great gains, and sometimes getting those gains is not easy. And so I think, well, I know that the fidelity to the programs that we have, the curriculum that our district adopted, the high quality instructional materials, that made the world of difference. Uh, it was the fidelity following this. It was very scripted. So, for
Okay.
example, our math curriculum is STEM Scopes Math, and so it is very scripted, but it's very there's an abundance and a plethora of material. You can't just wing it. I remember back when I was a teacher, if I forgot to do a lesson plan, I would go to the next page, and that's the page that I would go through. It's not like that anymore. You literally have to sit down and plan.
And really internalize, read through it, think about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because of the fact that it's so scripted, you don't want to seem like a robot because the first thing students do is turn off.
And how did you all, what role did collaboration and professional development play in helping your teachers get up and running with that? Because, I've experienced a new adoption and it's a lot to really fully know and understand your materials and be ready to go with students. How did you all do that?
Absolutely had a lot to do with our curriculum and instruction department. Um, so when we adopted STEM Scopes Math, um, I feel that the first year was a learning curve for everybody. Our community is very different from everyone else's in our district. So my community is very, very low income. We have the highest Title I students. So I don't want to say that there's not a lot of parent involvement. There's just not a lot of opportunities for parents to get themselves involved or have the knowledge that other parents in the other campuses would have. So we really had to rely on curriculum and instruction to provide that support to our teachers so that our teachers did everything that they possibly could within the school day so that students, when they went home, it wasn't, they weren't relying so much on their parents because it was new. Um, For reading language arts, we use Wonders and Maravillas. And so that adoption is also, there's so much within the reading language arts component that we can sit here and look at it and it would take us all day.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of the curriculum instruction providing that support to our teachers, coming in maybe once or twice a month to give teachers training on every single aspect of the programs, how to get there, how to help students with interventions, how to not dummy down the curriculum, even when students were lower than what they needed to be. It was never about let's regress and show them what they missed. No, it's always on grade level. It's never below grade level.
That's good. They deserve that access,
Absolutely.
and looks like they rose to the challenge.
They sure did. They did. And my teachers helped them because of the fact that the programs are very hands-on. Um, it helped those students that needed a different way to learn to learn.
Okay.
It's very differentiated, and the only class where students were able to get scaffolded instruction from the bottom, from their actual level, was like their response to intervention classes, our RTI classes that really specifically honed in on those students that were not at grade level at all.
And that's where they received the skills that they may be missing to access the grade level content.
Correct.
What else? Anything other than the curriculum that you believe, and the teachers, that you believe really helped?
The school culture, the culture of we can do it. Um, I feel that our campus culture has changed in the last 4 years. It's become a lot more positive. Um, like I said, within the time that I've been in education, the 25 years that I've been in education, I've learned how I want to be treated as a human being. And so I always tell my teachers, my staff that I'm not the boss. I'm not the boss. They are the leaders there. They lead their classroom. They lead this campus. I'm here to do the walkthroughs, to do the observations, to make sure everybody's safe, but they lead the campus. And so um, one of my main focuses is to make them feel valued, to make them feel heard. Um, I know a lot of my principals here within the district, we have an open door policy, and I really apply that to my campus because if I'm in a meeting and something's happening, there's an emergency with a teacher, I make sure that I provide that time for them and give them grace when something comes up and they just can't deal. We've had a lot of teachers who have personal issues. I had a teacher who was diagnosed with cancer, with breast cancer, and we made sure that we provided her support and let her know that her family here is going to help her to succeed. And so she will come in to this day, will come into my office, sit in front of me, and just bleh, like vomit. This is the way my day is going. This is what's happening. I'm having a bad day, and I will let her. And then she'll get up and she'll be like, "Thank you for letting me, decompress." Absolutely. She goes on, and the rest of the day is perfect. But I think it has a lot to do with that type of culture. Understanding my teachers, understanding my students, understanding the fact that I have students that might not have had dinner the night before, or they're hungry in the morning and they're late to school, making sure that they have the breakfast that they need, making sure that they feel safe here. I My worst fear has always been that something happens to my students here on campus. So I make sure that I'm always on top even of the security guard. I'm like, we have an actual police officer. I'm like, have you made your rounds? Have you checked the doors outside? Yes. And it's a constant thing because if my students don't feel safe and my teachers don't feel safe, they're not going to be here to learn, and my teachers are not going to be here to lead. And so I want to make sure that I buffer that and help them feel safe.
You're reminding me of a conversation that I had with a high school principal who serves in the Bay Area of California. And I believe it was just yesterday. she and I had a meeting scheduled, and she hopped on to tell me that, ICE was in the area, and there was a lot of panic and worry and fear, and children were not, many of the kids didn't come to school.
Right.
And I'm just curious if you've had experiences like that in your area.
Absolutely. It didn't just start. My community,
Okay.
like I said, is a Title I campus. So we're on the border of Juarez, Mexico. And so we do have a lot of students that come from Juarez all the way over here. It's a 45-minute drive. And so a lot of the students I feel want to grow academically, but with the fear of ICE deporting their parents or them going home and nobody being home. It makes a world of difference. And so, um, as educators, as classroom leaders, as classroom teachers, we always discuss, if there's something going on with the student, let's make contact with that student, with that parent, to see how we can support them. Um, I want to say it was about three years ago. We had a raid here in the town, and they ended up picking up. I want to say about maybe 12 um 12 people, and two of them were moms of the kids here. And the kids ended up staying with like a cousin for a little bit, but then eventually they ended up leaving. And so that to me, it breaks my heart because those kids never came to school and felt safe. Um at the end of last year, as a matter of fact, I had a conversation and interview with Dayline. They interviewed me for our area, asking how it has affected us. And we got training immediately. Okay, if ICE comes to your campus and they don't have a warrant, they can't come in. If they have a warrant, it has to be signed by the judge. If they don't, you don't have to let them in. So it was, all these things that they prepared us for. I thank God I haven't had to deal with that. Our sheriff's department here, they're very, very, it's gonna sound weird, but they're very nice. They're very good to my students. They're very good to my parents. They're here to help them. So nobody right now, nobody feels like this, "I'm scared," kind of thing to come to school. But if you go throughout the community, you don't see the people outside anymore. When I leave work, I leave about maybe 4:30, 4:15, there's nobody out. It's just everybody is inside all the time.
Has it been like that for years, or is that
No,
more recent?
that's more recent.
Okay.
We have within this community, we have like uh, it's a truck stop, and that's the only movement you see. Just at that truck stop, it's truckers that come in, put gas, but really you don't see anybody at the market after like 4 o'clock. You don't see people at the church unless it's like the Sunday. So it's very sad. You don't see anybody at the park. There's a park just down the street from our school. There's nobody there.
Was the training that you all received, with regards to how to respond, should ICE, show up at the campus, was that something that you received a few years ago or something more recent as well?
No, that was more recent. It was, I want to say it was the beginning of last year.
Okay.
hmm The beginning of the school year last year.
How did you all, staff, students, parents, community members, how did you all work through that incident of, a few years ago when a couple of the kiddos, yeah, how did you work through that?
A lot of counseling. A lot of counseling for the students. A lot of trying to communicate with the parents when they were already in Juarez. And then just letting them know, letting them talk to their students, to their children, to let them know that they were okay. But like I said, eventually the students just ended up going back with their parents. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them one bit because I know that if I was separated from my family, I would want to just go back. But yes, a lot of understanding, um, and a lot of love. Our students walk in the mornings and they get a high five, they get a pound, they get a good morning. I love to hug my students, and I know a lot of them need it. Some don't need it, but a lot of them do need it. And I'm here to provide that extra love that they need.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I hadn't planned to ask about that, but there was just something that you mentioned that reminded me of where you are, in relationship to the border, and made me wonder if that might be something that you've all experienced. I am though wanting to know more about your how you develop your teachers as leaders. You mentioned that, you know, that you really see them as and have positioned them as leaders at the campus. How have you gone about doing that?
So giving them a voice, letting them, like I said, when somebody leads, they need to have that voice to say it's working or it's not working. So I want to make sure, and my teachers know that they can come in and say, you know what, I have this idea. Can I roll with it? If they can, they can. Like 90% of the time, they can. There's about that 10% of the time that they come up with, ideas that we just can't roll with because it doesn't fit the narrative and it doesn't fit the curriculum. And so, like I said, the curriculum that we're following right now is very scripted. And so, if you deviate from it, you either fall behind or the students do not get the support that they need in order for them to be successful. So, it's just letting them know that they have that voice, giving them that time to plan because of the fact that it's so important for them to go through all the steps of the curriculum. We try and do like 90-minute professional learning communities where they can take that extra time to prep and to plan for their lessons, and then work with one another because we want to make sure that if it's fourth grade, it's all fourth grade doing the same thing, and that if students are not getting it from one teacher, they might be able to get it from another teacher in a different way because we don't all teach the same, but we have to teach the same thing. And so if my teachers say, "Well, you know what? Johnny doesn't understand the way I'm teaching. Can I send him to you?" And they've done that before, and it's proven to be very successful because sometimes it can even just be tone of voice,
Yeah.
groups of students. So it works because there's a lot of collaboration.
Okay. How often do they have that time to work together as a professional learning community?
Professional learning committees that happen every week. They meet every Thursdays to do professional PLCs. But the 90-minute block is once a month. Unfortunately, because I have few students, I have very few employees. And so
Yes.
in order for you to have those 90-minute blocks, you have to have that extra curriculum or extra human to be in that classroom to take care of your students. And we have to plan very well for those times because we don't want to just give us our students fluff, you know. Oh, we want our teachers to meet for 90 minutes, but for 45 minutes you're just going to sit there. We don't want to do that either. We want to make sure that everything is curriculum aligned, or we also participate in No Place for Hate, and that is a PBIS initiative where it's like a positive behavior, and so we will do maybe like a lesson. They'll do like physical education and then 45 minutes with the counselor, having a no place for hate activity. So it's finding different ways to always incorporate the curriculum, and not having that downtime for students.
Okay, good. The other piece that you were sharing, when I asked how long you had been at the school, you mentioned 8 years, I believe. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, but you also mentioned a little bit later that about 4 years ago, the culture started to shift. What do you think? What shifted, and what do you think contributed to that?
I think the shift had to do with teachers knowing that they matter. Every teacher matters, not just one or two teachers. It's a team. And in order for us to win, we have to play as a team. And that was my main focus. When my first year was to build that cohesiveness, that team that I can rely on you and you can rely on me. It was difficult. And a lot of things changed from then to now, including personnel, including attitudes, including being able again to be real with one another, because I feel like sometimes we get used to certain people, certain styles of leadership that sometimes we're not comfortable going outside or trying to be different. And I feel that that's what I embrace the most is the differences that we all have, and putting those differences together to make it work. And just listening. I think that made a world of difference. And them knowing that I'm not perfect. And my teachers know, like I've literally stood in front of my teachers and have cried. I've literally and I don't cry tears, like I don't have tears anymore. I haven't had tears since 2003, so that kind of helps. Um, but like I will cry and I will tell them, you know what, you guys, I messed up. I messed up. This is what we're supposed to be doing. And so they know that um I'm not pretending. I'm not pretending to be something I'm not. And if I don't have the answer, I tell them I don't know, but let me find out. And so I think that makes a world of difference. Just being human and treating people with respect. I know it seems simple, but sometimes it's harder than what we think, because we want results and we want them now,
Yeah.
but it takes time to build that trust, that faith with one another, and that healing. I have little stickers around my computer. It says, "I'm healing every day. Enjoy the little things. I am already enough." Because I want my teachers to know that it's a process.
Yeah. I love that so much. It's wonderful. And it aligns with what I believe is true of the strongest leaders in that space of vulnerability and authenticity and just showing up and sometimes taking off the armor. I'm a Brene Brown fan,
Yes,
so
absolutely.
yeah. Um, now, okay, this is a definite aside, but you haven't had tears since 2003. Will you tell us about that? What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
So I have Sika syndrome. It's called Sika syndrome. So I don't produce tears. I don't produce saliva, so I have to be drinking water all the time.
Okay.
And it kind of helps, when you're trying to have those difficult conversations and you're gonna cry and it just doesn't happen. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's little it's weird.
That's interesting. I didn't know if you meant, like, literally or if there was maybe an experience that you had that just, like, you let it all out and,
Yeah.
because I can feel the emotion, so
Yeah. Like there's I think I wanted in this conversation that we had, I think I wanted to cry like 3 times, but it doesn't happen.
because you're proud of what you all have accomplished, what your teachers have
Absolutely.
accomplished, and
Absolutely.
sounds like you are a real team, so that's amazing. How does your district as a whole, um how do they hear from the school sites? How do each of your sites work together across the district and with the district?
So with the district, we have leadership team meetings. We have them every month where we get together, and it, it it incorporates professional development. It
Okay.
incorporates learning about the curriculum, because being in the leadership role, a lot of the times we're doing the observations, we're doing the walkthroughs, but we're not understanding or we're not internalizing the curriculum. And for me, that is the most important, but the hardest thing to do, because, like I said, I don't just do the principal position. I have to take care of discipline. I have to take care of parent complaints. I have to take care of irate parents. I have to take care of disasters in the cafeteria, everything that you can think of. And then I have to take care of testing. So it's all of that together. And so it's hard, but I think it's also important to note that we only have 6 elementaries within my district, and the 6 principals, we are always texting each other. We're always asking questions about how you're doing it in your campus, so that way I can do it at my campus. We want uniformity, but we know that each campus is different. The highest socioeconomic campus is A rated. The lowest socioeconomic campus is A rated. So we want to make sure that everybody in the middle also achieves that as well, and that we continue with that A rating. We don't just want an A rating for 1 year, we want it to continue.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it's a lot of collaboration with the district. It's a lot of collaboration with our associate superintendent, with curriculum and instruction department. Um, we are, in a transition right now. We don't have a superintendent. We have an interim, but we don't have an actual superintendent just yet. And so there's been a lot of changes, but we haven't felt it at the campus because everything has continued business as usual and the support has been there. And um, for example, yesterday, my associate superintendent called me just to see how I was doing. What do you need? What can I help you with? Are you struggling with something? How are things going with the parents? Perfect. And then it's just like, okay, call me if you need anything, I'll answer absolutely. And so just even just those little checks, those little 2, 3 minute calls, it means that I'm not alone. And if you were to see how our district is set up, I'm the last campus in the district. So I'm like the furthest.
The furthest away from the district
Correct.
office. Okay.
Correct. And so it's very rare that I get visitors over here. So it kind of feels lonely sometimes, but at the same time, I have no time to feel that loneliness.
Yeah.
Just that call is great for me.
So one of the things that you mentioned about, the lowest, the highest socioeconomic um, school site is an A rated and lowest is A rated, and you're wanting to bridge the gap in between. Just reminded me of what something I'm very passionate about. And if you've happened to tune into any of the other shows, you may have heard me talk about, and that's the variance that exists within a school building, across school sites, within a school district in terms of the outcomes that kids receive, and the opportunities and experiences. One of the pieces that you've talked a lot about today is the power of that agree, look, let's agree on we're going to do this, we're going to use these materials and use them the way that they're intended to be used. And I think that that certainly helps. What other what other strategies might you all lean on or use to help to ensure that all kids get the very best in terms of the instructional strategies that they experience, the culture and climate of the classroom, the amount of time they're engaged in the learning, and those pieces.
I think it all just goes back to positivity and then just having that human touch from their teachers and from their peers. Students, they see and they feel the disparity. Exactly what you just finished saying.
Yeah.
Bridging that disparity, bridging from one extreme to another. Eh, eh, for example, and this is what I was working on earlier today, field trips, right? Our campus very rarely goes to field trips. Very rarely because we don't get the same amount of funding that the other campuses get because of the amount of students that they have. And so there's very little money to allocate to a field trip. So almost everything that we do as fundraisers, and we do them for the kids so that way they can feel the normalcy that they would feel at a different campus within our district.
Yeah.
But it all has to do with how you're making them feel when they come into your classroom. That is the most important. I think that you can take a student to a field trip and they might remember it for 3, 4 months.
Yeah.
But they're and again, a student will always remember how you made them feel. So I always, at the beginning of the school year, throughout the school year, I tell them, I want my teachers to be standing outside their door, welcoming their students because I want them to make their students feel like they're the only ones that matter while they're here at the campus. And so I think that is what makes the difference. Period. It might be that the curriculum is the best curriculum ever, but
Yeah.
if your students do not like you, they're not gonna learn from you.
Well said. Lupe, it has been such a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you for opening up about all of the ways that you have led your staff and that your staff has led the transformational efforts to go from a D to an A. It sounds like you just have a wonderful group of teachers and students. And I pray that they will continue to feel safe and loved, despite some of the things beyond our control.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I love sharing the wonderful things that my campus is doing and my students are doing. I'm very proud of every single one of the students here from Montessori all the way to fifth grade. I love all my students. So I'm so blessed to be here.
Yes, it does sound like a really great place, and you've just shared so many things that make me think, like, just how lucky all of you are to have one another. So, yeah. Where can someone go if they wanna learn more about your school or district?
So if they want to learn about the district, they would go to canutillo-isd.org. If they want to learn about my campus, it's dde.canutillo-isd.org. Or they can always look me up. Like I said, I have an open door policy, not only for my teachers, but for my parents too. A lot of my parents even have my cell phone. So I just love to share the wonderful things that are happening here.
Okay, very good. So, everyone, you heard that. Thank you all for tuning in today, and we will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Unlock 360 podcast. Follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube, and visit leadteachlearn360.com to learn more about us, because every school deserves systems that work and leaders who can make them thrive.